So, I just finished making Click the Yellow Rhombus, and here is the post-mortem how to play / and we're also going to look at some of the code. So here we go. And turn on the music, hit start, you get a 3, 2, 1. I don't start immediately because it's about a little twitchy game where, as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm clicking the yellow rhombus, and if I miss, I lose 15 points. If I hit it, I get 10 points. The collision detection isn't really all that sophisticated. It's actually anywhere in the bounding box. I can hit it there and it still hits, even though the pointer was not on the rhombus, because I didn't need to be pixel perfect. That's really kind of the point, is that's good enough. Let's see if I can, not very many. The placement is completely random. Let's see if I can beat my high score, which was 555 before. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I don't think I'm going to make it. Ah, I did it. Okay. Okay, so 570. We'll turn this off. I kind of like this song, but actually it's been getting stuck in my head as I've been working on this. Okay, so that's enough of that. Public domain song, you can find it. We'll take a look in a minute. If you hit the little I thing, it goes to a thing that says, hey, here's me, and here the funny thing was, I'm like, okay, I need some sort of control that I can click and turn on and off the volume, and I found it on game icons, and I'm like, well, now I'm going to need to, because they're BY, or they're CC BY, so you have to put somewhere, hey, this is who made my icon. Like, okay, well then I'm going to need another page, so I need the little I icon. Didn't want to make it myself. Kept looking on game icons. Turns out same guy, little Mr. Bruno here, and I'm not going to butcher the pronunciation of these things. You can take a look at them. I'll put a link. And the font, I'm like, I need a font, and looked on DA font. Eventually found this one, where it's BYSA if I make a derivative font, but I can use it for any project. Those things are over in my assets folder. So naturally, the state machine is a little bit more complex than in JetLag, not just switching between two states, but having a title state, having a state that counts down 3, 2, 1, having the game itself, and then having a game over state that waits for a couple seconds. There's a reason for it, the game over state, because if you're clicking, if the last rhombus is right in here and the game is over, it goes right back to the title state, you will start the game over again, and that is not desired. So I give a 3-second game over state, and so and then this doesn't actually go to a different state, and this one goes to here's information. So it's not much to it, so it's a good incremental change from JetLag, and as a result, taking a look at some of the codes here. This is the main thing, which all it does is it bootstraps all of the various static classes I have. Things like options and images and musics and whatever, and everything has sort of, I can show you here, the images, music, sound effects, they all have their, go to music first. So here's file names and here's a cache, and whenever I load, I say do whatever you do to take it from the file name or whatever properties into a real thing that I can use, and then when I need it, I call in and say, hey, do the thing. The same thing happens here for images. Okay, zooming in. There are just more of them, so there's a cache, and it was really a copy pasta sort of thing, which is fine. I may But that's here I've repeated this thing. Here's music. Music is the same way. And it's Komiku. And they have adventure. Let's see if I can find it right quick. No, I don't want that. Okay. It's Time for Adventure is the name of the. They have a number of albums. There's one called The Binge Watchers. Score 1. So there's some of this electronic ambient stuff, and it's public domain. I don't have to give them any credit at all. But this one is. But I find I'll look for something that's appropriate to whatever we're doing here. So I have some music. I mostly play with the music off, but that's neither here nor there. The States, I finally made a. Close that. Here's my state machine, and really all it does is it brings in, adds some states, but mostly it just is a hi, what state am I on, and whenever I get a draw or an update or a mouse press or a mouse release, it's a dispatcher. It dispatches to the current state. There's not much to it, which makes each of these like your own little mini application. And most of the time, here's a draw, here's an update, and here's a mouse thing. And so now you'll also see there's buttons. And so one of the things that was getting rather messy, and see, here's my constants. All my buttons have a width and a height and an X and a Y, and I was checking, so is the mouse position greater equal to that, and so on. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I should really be wrapping this up in a button, and then made a button class. This is whenever I'm doing a for real kind of Lua class, I'll do a lot of asserts because I want to be, because Lua is the one of the least type safe languages ever, so I need to have something so that I can more easily detect, hey, I'm doing something wrong. I even go ahead and give it a meta table, and so that's just to go, nope, you are of this particular class. I don't actually use this one here, but I do for the base class, which is rectangle. And for and also hide, I use closures to get at the values. So these are just this local variable, and then the instance methods just call into that. So you can't actually, there's no way for me to change these once I get them in there. They're basically write them once and you're done. Although I do give the ability to set it, but if you take a look and go through the properties of the object, you can't look at it. I also made a rectangle class because I needed that for my button. So these two classes here, they get moved on to whenever the next time I need things that I can click on the screen. There will be more to it because I found myself constantly having to write the loop through the button. Well, not here, but loop through the buttons and update whether or not I'm hovering over them, and that got kind of found that kind of annoying after a while. But so there are plenty of opportunities to cultivate some more reusable code out of this project, and so that's a good thing. It's one step closer to having a really good set of things that allow me to make games more quickly. The part that I kind of hit the wall on, a couple days ago, was I was at a state of completely playable, I didn't have this, and we'll actually go into the game. I didn't have, these were there, but they were just some stats written right here, which means the game was completely there. There's no actual functionality left. It didn't make a sound when I hit or missed. I didn't have those, so I'm like, okay, I don't, and I did, and when I had, I'll just start it over. And this was here, but this was blank. And that was where you just sort of sit there in the doldrums going, I'm not interested in the slightest in finishing this game because I can and I know how, but then just the way I got out of that, you just have to pick. Here's something. I'm going to pick one thing to do, and I'm going to just get myself ever so asymptotically closer to being done. What I did was like, okay, I went over to SFX and started making the sounds. Okay, then I made the sound manager, then I played the sound, then after a while I'm like, okay, great. And then you get yourself going again. You just force yourself to you pick a task and you do it so that you keep yourself going, because otherwise sometimes you're just like, I don't feel like it today. And you'll never feel like it. And maybe you'll move on to something else and you'll leave an abandoned game, and that was really the whole point. Is I don't want to abandon these games. I want to get them done. That's why I start with them as simple as I can. But even as simple as they are, sometimes I just want to let them go. So anyway, I think that's going to be about it. Yeah, I'll give a links to it on itch.io. Linked to some of the resources that I use outside of what I'm doing. And thanks for watching.